Hello, my name is Pastor Kathy Kollar. I'm the pastor of Pleasant Valley Lutheran Church near Malabar Farm and St. Paul Lutheran Church, both in Lucas, Ohio. Greetings. We are reading through the Bible with commentary, and today we are up to Noah. We are in Genesis chapter 6, and the story of the flood actually goes over several chapters, so I'm going to try to dive right in. One of the interesting things that I found in my study Bible is that apparently there are two stories woven through together in Genesis. The Yahwist from Yahweh, which is the unpronounceable name of God that has sometimes been translated Jehovah, but YHWH. And I think traditionally Jewish people would just not even say this name. And then the priestly tradition, and that is part of why there's two creation stories. And as we get into Noah, according to my study Bible, these two accounts from the Yahwehist and the priest are kind of woven together. And there's still just a little bit of this duality of the story, but maybe not quite as much as there were in the first two chapters of Genesis. So starting in chapter 6, when people began to multiply on the face of the ground, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that they were fair, and they took wives for themselves of all that they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in mortals forever, for they are flesh. Their days shall be 120 years. So, in theory, the oldest that we can get to be is 120 years. I do have two patients that are over 100. One of them's 106 and the other one is 108. Neither of them are the oldest people in the United States. I think the most recent oldest person in the world died recently was around 116, which is just unbelievable. And what does it mean that the sons of God took wives for themselves? We don't know. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of God went in to the daughters of humans, that means they had sex, who bore children to them. These were the heroes that were of old, warriors of renown. So what are Nephilim? We don't know for sure. How are these people? What were they formed? Why is this story here? It's very ancient, and we don't really know, except for here's a partial explanation of where they came from. It's kind of like the idea of demigods, like you have with Greek mythology, has this kind of people like Hercules that are both human and God at the same time. But for whatever reason, God said 120 years is all you get. So verse 5, the Lord saw that the wickedness of humankind was great on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of their hearts was only evil continually. So, as we would say in the Lutheran tradition, we are captive to sin and cannot free ourselves. And the Lord was sorry that he had made humankind on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. Grieved here is the idea of anguish, that it causes God anguish. So the Lord said, I will blot out from the earth the human beings I have created, people together with animals and creeping things and birds of the air, for I'm sorry that I made them. But Noah found favor in the sight of the Lord. And what does it mean to find favor? For whatever reason, God is pleased with Noah. These are the descendants of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God, which is what we heard earlier, that Enoch had walked with God. And Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw that the earth was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its ways upon the earth. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. Now I am going to destroy them along with the earth. Make yourself an ark of cypress wood. So there's a footnote in my Bible that says, we don't really know what that word means because it's very, very ancient. Some kind of wood, maybe, possibly. Cypress is a wood that gets used later in the Bible for ships, so that's how the translators have put it. Make rooms in the ark and cover it inside and out with pitch. In other words, make it waterproof. This is how you are to make it. The length of the ark, 300 cubits. Its width, 50 cubits. Its height, 30 cubits. So cubit is the length of a forearm, so about a man's forearm, so about 18 inches. Make a roof for the ark and finish it to a cubit above, and put a door of the ark in its side. Make it with lower, second, and third decks. So make a big rectangular box and cover it with pitch and make it waterproof. And put different rooms in it with different levels and a roof on top. For my part, I'm going to bring flood waters on the earth to destroy from under heaven all flesh in which is the breath of life. Everything that is on the earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. So this is the first of 3 big covenants that God makes with humankind. That a covenant is an agreement, a contract, a promise that God is forming with the humans. And of every living thing, of all flesh, you shall bring 2 of every kind into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. Of the birds according to their kinds, of the animals according to their kinds, of every creeping thing of the ground according to its kind, 2 of every kind shall come into you, to keep them alive. Also take with you every kind of food that is eaten, and store it up, and it shall serve as food for you and for them. Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him. So in this portion of the story, it's two of everything, to animal, to birds, to creeping things, all 2 of everything. So they think this is the version from the people that are Yahweh. But there's also the priestly version. Now we're up to chapter 7. And we think this is, the scholars think this is the priestly version. Then the Lord said to Noah, Go into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you alone are righteous before me in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of all clean animals, the male and its mate, and a pair of the animals that are not clean, the male and its mate. So of the clean animals, 7 of each. Of the not clean animals, 2 of each. And 7 pairs of the birds of the air also, male and female, to keep their kind alive on the face of all the earth. For in 7 days I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and every living thing that I have made I will blot out from the face of the ground. And Noah did all that the Lord had commanded him. So according to my study Bible, this is 2 accounts of the flood woven together to say there is 2, well, there's 7 of the clean ones. Or it could just be that they elaborate when they get to the next section. Noah was 600 years old when the flood of the waters came on the earth. And Noah with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives went into the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Of clean animals and of animals that are not clean, and of birds and everything that creeps on the ground, 2 and 2, male and female, went into the ark with Noah, as God had commanded Noah. And after 7 days, the waters of the flood came on the earth. So whether it's 7 or whether it's 2, it's the story that we all kind of know, that Noah is in the ark, this big square box. There is more than one flood story in creation. There's other versions of this, including a guy named Gilgamesh. But they all kind of have this boxy box for the ark, which is kind of an interesting thing. Where was I? Verse 11. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day, all the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of heavens were opened. The rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On the very same day Noah with his sons, Shem and Ham and Japheth, and Noah's wife and 3 wives of his sons entered the ark, they and every wild animal of every kind, and all domestic animals of every kind, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, and every bird of every kind, every bird, every winged creature. They went into the ark with Noah, 2 and 2 of all flesh, in which there was the breath of life. And those that entered, male and female of all flesh, went in as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. The flood continued 40 days on the earth, and the waters increased and bore up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters swelled and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the face of the waters. The waters swelled so mightily on the earth that all the high mountains under the whole heaven were covered. The waters swelled above the mountains, covering them with 15 cubits deep. And a cubit, we just said, was the length of a forearm, so 15 times 18 inches. And all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds, domestic animals, wild animals, all swarming creatures that swarm on the earth, and all human beings. Everything on dry land in whose nostril was the breath of life died. He blotted out every living thing that was on the face of the ground, human beings and animals and creeping things and birds of the air. They were blotted out from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those that were with him in the ark, and the water swelled on the earth for 150 days. So the rain fell for 40 days, but now there's a flood, and the flood, of course, lasts longer than the rain, which is still the case for us. It rains, and then all the rivers are still full a couple of days later because it rained. So this is the case. Chapter 8. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and all the domestic animals that were with him in the ark. And God made a wind blow over the earth, and the waters subsided. The fountains of the deep and the windows of the heavens were closed. The rain from the heavens were restrained, and the waters gradually receded from the earth. At the end of 150 days, the waters had abated. And in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, the ark came to rest in the mountains of Ararat. This is modern-day Turkey, Iraq, Iran, Armenia, and the mountains there. The waters continued to abate until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the tops of the mountains appeared. So the ark has come to rest, and it's there, but they don't come out of the ark right away. At the end of 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made, and he sent out the raven, and it went to and fro until the waters were dried up from the earth. Then he sent out the dove from him to see if the waters had subsided from the face of the ground. But the dove found no place to set its foot, and it returned to him in the ark, for the waters were still on the face of the whole earth. So he put out his hand and took it and brought it into the ark with him. He waited another 7 days, and again he sent out the dove from the ark, and the dove came back to him in the evening, and there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. So Noah knew that the waters had subsided from the earth. Then he waited another 7 days and sent out the dove, and it did not return to him any more. In the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month, the waters were dried up from the earth, and Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked and saw that the face of the ground was drying. In the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dry. Then God said to Noah, "Go out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you of all flesh, birds and animals and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, so that they may abound in the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth." So Noah went out with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives, and every animal, every creeping thing, every bird, everything that moves on the earth went out of the ark by families. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord. This, of course, is the priest saying, we do rituals, and the rituals are immediately established as soon as Noah came out of the ark. And who did they? And of course, he brought more than two. He brought 7 animals, so he was able to sacrifice. Noah built an altar to the Lord and took of every clean animal and every clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And this is, you give something to God, and the scent goes up to God, and God can smell that. And when Lord smelled the pleasing odor, the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground because of humankind. For the inclination of human heart is evil from youth. Nor will I ever again destroy every living creature as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seedtime and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. So as long as there is the earth will not be destroyed by a flood. He will not destroy every living creature. And this weaving between the potentially two versions of the story, that the priest is like, yes, we must have rituals, we must have burnt sacrifices, and from the time that Noah comes off of the ark, he is offering sacrifices to the Lord. Also, an interesting thing that was mentioned in the study Bible is talking about how for the ancient people, anything that is chaos is bad, order is good. And this is kind of a good versus evil, that the chaos of creation is like trying to come back, and God is letting it. And then God says, nope, we're not going to do this anymore. I'm like, I don't know what I think about that. That's an interesting way of putting it. But what I do agree with very much is that the inclinations of humans is evil. And we say it every Sunday in a Lutheran church, we are captive to sin and cannot free ourselves. And we need God to forgive us. And you can destroy every human ever, there's still sin. Even with Noah being righteous, in the very next time we read, we're going to hear about more sin. So there's always sin, because the inclination of humans is to be disobedient and sinful. But we're no longer going to have to worry about the entire world being annihilated by a flood anymore. And now may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord look at you with favor and give you peace. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Go in peace, serve the Lord. Have a great day.